What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Figure It Out of the Basement's Black Series talk show. I'm Nate, joined with Justin.
What's up, guys?
And today, it's time to count down the best Black Series of 2025 so far.
Yes, this is an annual tradition for us, Nate. We usually do it closer to where it's actually like half the year, which would be like essentially July 1st. But I figured we'd do it here at the tail end of May because we don't really have a lot of figures coming soon.
Right.
A lot of the stuff is dropping in like July, August, September area, according to the sources. So why not do it now? I mean, we have tons of good figures so far this year.
That's
especially in the fan channel space.
Right. The character selection has been great this year. Lots of prequel Jedi, some aliens.
Yeah.
So really good stuff so far in 2025. I know once we get to the end of the year, it's going to be tough making that top 10.
Yeah.
It's going to be real tough because there's so many great figures already.
There's even a figure on here that I don't even have, but I kind of just have to take your word for it with our number one spot. So
It's true.
stay tuned.
It's facts. Now, as is tradition, we have one honorable mention, and it is the wonderful prequel Jedi, Luminara Unduli.
This figure is just so good. I think the likeness of it is a little closer to an animated Clone Wars-y type vibe.
Yeah, I can see it.
Compared to the live action look of her. Just a preference. I mean, I would prefer the live action, but this figure hits like no other. There's actual like torso sculpt work that helps utilize the butterfly joints. It's like one of those figures where it's like shaped a specific way so the entire like shoulder moves back and forth.
Right.
It's a really, really good figure. Soft goods, Nate.
True. Soft goods done really well. I really love all the intricate gold details and the paint work on the, front sash thingy. What was really awesome and something that had a lot of us worried at first with Luminara was her like headdress.
Yeah.
They did like some really nice softer plastic so the head can articulate a lot better than perhaps if we would have got this figure in the past where it would have been like a really hard plastic head and she probably would have been pretty limited as far as the movement goes. But I was actually pretty impressed with how decent the head articulation is with that soft plastic they used.
Right on. Number 5 is another prequel alien, but this one is not a Jedi, but it is from the same fan channel wave. It is Sebulba, the pod racer from Phantom Menace. This is another excellent figure. This was one that none of us even knew we were allowed to want in the Black Series. Famous Landspeeder Luke quote. So good.
Right. They tend to shy away from doing any sort of alien that's kind of non-humanoid. I know there's a few examples in the line before Sebulba, but it had been such a long time since we had really seen like a non-humanoid style alien that when we saw Sebulba, I think we were all collectively blown away.
Right.
And the figure totally delivers as well. It's a really awesome feat of engineering on Hasbro's end. Obviously, since Sebulba is a Doug, he walks on his technically arms.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how to explain it either.
The figure has to basically have a way to strike a balance so that the figure can actually stand up, and I think they did a really great job with that. It's so easy to pose.
Yeah, the distribution of the weight and just like the mass of the figure, you can find the center of gravity really easily.
Yeah.
It poses so well. Poses like a dream. They only had to take a small amount of creative liberties to achieve that too. Like the fingers are a little more like swollen, so you could actually like stand it.
Yeah,
which is perfectly fine.
Right. They at the end of the day had to give him some way to accurately stand.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it fails as a figure.
Yeah, tons of paint too. There's a wash on his face.
Right. I even like the little frog accessory. It's just neat things that you don't see all the time these days.
Goggles with transparent plastic?
Remember when they did it in 1999 and then for some reason they said they couldn't do it for tech? But now they can do it again? Justin, let's step away from the prequels and go back to the trilogy that started it all, my brother.
Let's do it.
Number 4 is Princess Leia. Now, this figure, hot fire.
It is a significant upgrade over the red and black box release / archive release.
Yes.
It was an infamous toilet paper figure, and the likeness was horrible on that first one. It was a little bit better on the archive, but this one just blows it out of the water.
Right.
It captures her grace, her determination. It's just like a perfect encapsulation of Leia from 1977. The likeness alone is enough for me to pick up this figure, but the execution of the hard plastic on this figure, good on you. Mm-hmm. We said we wanted how they did the TVC figure, just blow it up, and they pretty much did.
Right. Even down to the swappable hood pieces, which is great too, because on that original toilet paper figure, you weren't using that hood. You just weren't. That wasn't an option. It looked absolutely ridiculous. So the alternate hood pieces that sculpted to fit perfectly to the back of her head,
yes,
and look so accurate to like how we see Leia on screen in 77. It was just incredible to see. Even though the figure has some weird reuse, I think it still hides it really well.
True.
And the only real minor nitpick I have is, you can't really get her to do like the iconic, like putting the
kneeling pose.
Yeah, like, putting the message into R2. So that is a little bit of a bummer, but I will take the trade-off for everything
She
else.
looks like essentially photorealistic with the sculpted robes, and you just get so much more detail in like the folds and wrinkles, and like you were saying with the hood and the hair and everything. It looks so much more natural. So I am willing to forgive the kneeling pose, which is why honestly the archive for $5, $10, $15, whatever it is, I'm sure it's dirt cheap, might still be a viable pickup if you have like a Tantive 4 display just to get that kneeling pose. But I love this new Leia so much.
Yep.
Too bad Luke couldn't be on the same level.
True.
All right, going back to the prequel trilogy and more Jedi and more aliens, we have a Togruta Jedi Shock T from Attack of the Clones. Nate, I was torn between Luminara Unduli and Shock T. Which one is going on the top 5? I chose Shock T for paint alone.
Yeah, I obviously agree with you. Just the more complicated paint apps. The slightly more complex design with the Leku. This was definitely a figure that I thought was really never going to happen. Or if it did happen, it was going to be a deluxe cuz paint figure.
Absolutely.
Because not only that, but also the complex details, again, on her front sash, similar to Luminara.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just so many intricate details, so much paint on the figure. It looks so accurate to Shock T in the actual prequel films. I think this figure has like a strong film likeness, which is good, since especially in like Clone Wars animated, she kind of has like some exaggerated features that make her look a little strange.
Yeah, I think this is another reason why I prefer this one over Luminara. Both pretty much have the same articulation scheme.
Yeah.
Both reuse like the Aura Singh, Darkseid, Rey, Ventress legs, whichever one of those came first.
Holdo.
Yeah.
It's one of them.
Which is fine. They're completely covered by lower cloaks and soft goods and robes, and, no issues with that. And so both articulation on these figures are insanely good for the Black Series. And it just delivers. This is another one where I feel like it's photorealistic, like you just plucked it right out of the prequel film and put it on your shelf. So number 3 is Shock T.
Now, if you would have asked me a couple months ago what the number 1 Black Series figure of this year was going to be, hands down, I probably would have told you it's our number 2 pick right now.
Right.
Which is Savage Opress.
Mm-hmm.
But things change. Things change. But Savage is an absolute banger. A deluxe that truly delivers. I know it sounds crazy, but as Black Series collectors, getting 2 accessories was...
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was awesome. Getting the lightsaber and the axe. So cool.
And the axe has like paint on it, and there's like sculpted like little details in the blade and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's so cool. The figure itself just has a hulking presence. There's so much mass to the figure. It's pretty much as tall as Darth Malgus.
Yep.
Or someone like that. The armor of the character, there's like a patina, you know, there's paint on the figure, likeness, great, articulation is pretty awesome across the board. There's 2 things on this figure, which would have elevated this to masterpiece. And I mean masterpiece, so we still love this figure a lot. I think it's one of my favorite of all time.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
I think it's in my personal top 10 Black Series figures of all time. But there's 2 things which would have elevated this to a perfect $33.99 action figure. And that is thigh swivel.
Ooh.
And paint on the hilt. Which there is paint. There's the black and red, but I wanted the chrome silvery on the hilt.
True.
If it had those 2 things, Nate, masterpiece.
True. The gray on the hilt is definitely disappointing, especially when we're paying deluxe prices. Just paint the damn thing and paint all of it. Mm-hmm. You know, we're already paying a lot of money for the figure. Just give us all the paint. It was really simple.
It was like all the paint went towards the fingernails.
Yeah.
And gauntlet swivel, boot swivel, and everything. Just give me thigh swivel to make it a little more natural as well.
Right.
Well, a lot more natural.
Yeah, way more natural. Yeah. In all honesty, but yeah, you are right. Those 2 things do hold it back a little bit. Mm-hmm. However, once again, the figure is still amazing.
It just hits.
Yeah.
It's one of those that stays on the desk for a very long time.
Yep. Totally delivered. And now it's time for our number 1 pick. What is the best Black Series figure of 2025 so far? Without a doubt in my mind, it is the Ronin. And you could also include R5D56 since it's technically a 2-pack.
Yep, and for this number 1 pick, we do specifically mean this 2-pack, the Hasbro Pulse Deluxe Super Duper Edition.
Yes, it has to be this version in particular because this is the only way to get the soft goods cloak, which also has, for the very first time in any Hasbro line, at least according to certain people that we have on good authority.
Yeah, like out of Marvel Legends, Black Series, whatever.
First wired cape.
Which is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. It lends so much to the figure. It makes the figure incredibly dynamic. The figure is dynamic on its own. It has a really awesome articulation scheme. It is also one of the few examples where the figure does not have thigh swivel, but they engineered the hips in such a way where you actually get pretty close to that original kind of thigh swivel range of movement that you would be looking for.
Right. If they could do that on every figure that is missing thigh swivel, I would be down. So I don't want anyone thinking this is a smoking gun of, ha! This ain't no gotcha moment. But on this particular figure, the hips were engineered very nicely to where you do get a little more range.
Yep.
So I've seen the way you pose this. It poses like a dream. The soft goods are just absolutely stunning with the wire. I mean, what a monumental moment. I know it's like fairly common in other lines, but
yeah, it's
for Black Series, this is a monumental occasion.
Yeah, you like look at McFarlane and it's like, oh, wired cape. It's a day that ends in Y.
Yep.
Black Series, we're like, everything we know about the line is changing, and hopefully for the better. I would love to see more wired soft goods in the future, if this is anything to go off of, because the figure is just a blast. It's hard to put down.
Yep.
Even if you have them in a vanilla pose, simply posing the cape like it's blowing in the wind, you're just like, this figure...
It has such a shelf presence.
Yeah, it really does. And it's one of those figure sets where I'm not even the biggest fan of Visions.
Right.
I could really care less about the character of Ronin other than I think, oh, he looks cool.
Right.
But,
and, I mean, you do get the droid, too.
Right. But, I mean, I think the without a doubt, the focus is on the figure 110%.
And it's a good little one and done. Like, it's a good episode of Visions. What else do you need from that arc? You just need Ronin and his droid, and it's just as a little one and done. You get the soft goods, you get the droid. Get that set over the main line, or the fan channel exclusive one with the sculpted plastic cloak and robe. The black and white is also better.
Yeah.
Color scheme. Subjective, but
yeah, you could argue having the colorized version will fit better with the rest of your figures, but Visions...
It's a one and done, though.
And Visions was never meant to fit in with the rest of Star Wars. So the figures sticking out and being their own unique thing, if we ever get more Visions figures in the future, I think it's totally fine. You only ever see Ronin in black and white, at least so far. So to me, I'm like, that's how he appeared. Figure being in black and white makes sense.
Yep. So that's why Ronin is the #1 Black Series figure of 2025 so far.
So far. However, I do think that's going to be a pretty tough hill to climb over.
True.
And simply because that wired soft goods, it does so much.
I feel like that'll be the smoking gun of this year.
Yeah, just speaking as a figure, not favorite, your favorite character or anything like that. You just have to look at it as an objective action figure and what it could potentially mean for the future of the Black Series. And then I think it's pretty obvious that it's got to be the #1, at least so far. And so that's all we have for you on this week's episode of Figure It Out. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like. Subscribe if you are new. We're always talking about Star Wars The Black Series here on the channel. If you are in a position to help support us directly, we do also offer a couple different channel membership tiers. Check those out down in the description below. And while you're there, click the link to join that Discord.
Gotta join it up.
That one is totally free, and it's a great way to get connected with us and other like-minded members of the community as well. Of course, we got to give a huge shout out and a special thank you to all of our current channel members. Your continued support is truly appreciated, and thank you to everyone else out there for watching. I'm Nate. I've been joined with Justin.
See you guys later.
And we will see you all next time on Out of the Basement.
Flag dropped, flag stolen, flag dropped, flag stolen, flag dropped, flag stolen.